Our show's what you know. We'll always watch TV. And if you think we can't, we'll watch more and you'll see. That's why the people of the web believe in Jim from Las Vegas and Jacob from Sweden.
Shows What You Know, you're a television podcast. I'm Jim from Las Vegas, and I'm still trying to fill a Cobra-sized hole left in my heart.
If only there was a movie coming out, Jim. I'm Jacob from Sweden, and yeah, welcome back to Shows What You Know. Showswhatyouknow.com. We talk about television shows, the latest, greatest, and also worst TV around. Trying out a new catchphrase there.
I like it.
This episode, we're going to chat about what we've been watching lately, do a little bit of a catch-up on various shows, what's going into our eye peepers and ear holes. Should you watch it? Should you not? And, of course, we're going to continue our Severance coverage. So we're chatting about season 2 episodes 6 and 7 of Severance this week. So we will get into spoilers then, but we'll let you know in advance. But yeah, Jim, where do you want to kick things off today? How are you doing? What's the story, as we say in Ireland? What's the crack?
Well, the story is, it kind of comes to a very simple question.
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
Well, Jacob, I mean, there's a few things I've been watching, but I'm just going to get into like one or two here. Because I've been watching a lot of reality shows. Well, I did check out this new show, although I think at this point they're out episode 5 or 6. I've only watched the first one so far, but it's this show called Paradise, which is on Hulu. I don't know if it's on a network as well. I think it's just a Hulu show. I could be wrong. Maybe it's on FX. Who keeps track of channels these days? We got streaming services, my guy. Now, Hulu, that could mean something else to you over in Ireland. That might just be Disney Plus, because I know a lot of that stuff is just all bundled under Disney Plus. But Paradise,
could just be BitTorrent. We don't know.
Yeah, Paradise is one of those shows where, like, I was seeing quick clips or promos for it. I had no interest in it. It stars Sterling K. Brown, who I do like, and it also stars Marsden. What's his first name? He played Cyclops.
James?
Yes, James Marsden. I don't know why I was spacing, because I always want to think James Marsters.
Yes.
Marsden from Buffy.
Yeah.
But like, and I like both of those actors, but the promos, it's kind of like Sterling K. Brown is a presidential Secret Service, like head of the Secret Service, and Marsden's the president, and it had this like political intrigue, which didn't really, I was like, I'm not, I wasn't really interested in it on face value. Then I heard it was from the creator of This Is Us, which is a show I really liked, but that show didn't give any political intrigue. That was a show about a family that was told through, multiple generations, and had they worked a lot with flashbacks, Jacob's favorite thing. But it did use the flashbacks in a way of showing like who the parents were when these adult characters we know in present day, when they were both like really young, like elementary school, to them when they were teenagers, to them now, and how they're dealing with. I think the first episode of This Is Us is like they're all turning 40.
And if I can cut in, Googling it just now, looking at it, Dan Fogelman, the creator, he also created the musical comedy fantasy fairy tale show Gallivant. So a real wide spread of genres here with these 3 shows.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the big cruxes of This Is Us was like, I mean, the pilot did have kind of an interesting twist. Because you don't know that it's the Westworld thing where you don't know you're viewing different timelines. But what's great about it is it's just in the first episode. So it's not this like long drawn out magic trick. It just feels like a cool reveal. Like, these other characters we're seeing, that's actually the parents of the present day characters. And then it dealt a lot with like the father character passed away when they were young, but we didn't know how that happened, and that was like explored throughout the show and what that meant for them. It was a great show. It was a little sappy here and there. It was a tearjerker, like a slice of life show. Now this
Did you
show,
watch all like it's over 100 episodes of This Is Us, right? Have you like?
Yes, I watched I've seen every episode.
Cool. Okay, great.
Part of it was because I was a big fan of Parenthood, and Parenthood was from the creators of Friday Night Lights. Um, and just because I was looking to scratch that itch, it looked like it was
Mhm.
gonna scratch that same like family dynamic slice of life. Like not every show needs to have vampires and ghosts and
That's where we disagree, but
uh,
okay.
and maybe a severed mind that goes to work for you. Um, so this show, heard that he was attached to it, it intrigued me a bit. And this show this new show Paradise does deal a bit with flashbacks and fleshing out some of these characters. I'll say the basic conceit. I mean, a lot of people, this could be old news. Like I said, this is at its 5th or 6th episode at this point. But the basic conceit of the first episode is Sterling K. Brown is the head of the Secret Service, and he goes into his shift on one of the mornings, and he finds the president dead.
Mm.
And it's like, all right, what the fuck's going on? And then we start.
It's like, all right, my performance review is going to be really bad.
And then we see a little bit through flashbacks their relationship and how it came to be, stuff like that. And I will say there's a review. I hate. I mean, again, this is kind of old news, so I'm fine with saying it. There's a reveal at the end of the first episode that does change things quite a bit, which does have me intrigued because I'm coming out of, I mentioned when Severance came back, I was like looking to scratch that Severance itch because it's week to week. That's why I started watching The Leftovers, which I did finish, by the way. Leftovers is a great show. I highly recommend it. The ending, I'm not as happy with the ending as a lot of other people are, but I'm still very happy I watched the show. And this, in a way, is kind of tugging at some of that because it is where we got a lot of intrigue, we get some mystery, we got some stuff going on. But I've only watched the one episode so far. I do got to catch up. I've heard there's been a lot of positive stuff about this show as well, just from hearing different reactions and seeing some different headlines and whatnot. So I'm interested to see where this continues to go. But that is Paradise, which here in the States is on Hulu. Now, Jacob, does any of those things make you perk your ears up a little bit, raise your eyebrows? What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I was spoiled on what happens at the end of the first episode just by going to the Wikipedia where the first
At this
sentence of the
point,
summary
yeah.
tells you the thing, which we're not going to mention because we're good like that. But no, it definitely does intrigue me, which for whatever reason, even though I'm not really that much into like thrillers or mysteries, I do like a political thriller, or I
Yeah.
like, even that dumbass one where where Mr. 24 becomes the president because they blew up Congress or whatever. All these
that's
different
right.
ones where like this person shouldn't have been president, but they're crazily president now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
let's maybe just because I want to fucking burn the system to the ground. I'm like, hey, the president dies. Let me watch that. But yeah, no, it does sound interesting to me, and it's coming out currently, right? So do you know? Is it supposed to be 7 episodes? Is all I'm seeing here, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Maybe that's as far as they are, or it could be. I mean, with streaming shows, you never know. Sometimes they will just drop a 7 on you and be like, "See you in 4 years."
Yeah, I have a 7. My what you've been watching is a 7 as well. So, but
It
yeah.
looks like there's at least there's at least as of this recording, there's been 7 episodes.
Oh, I think there's going to be 8. I think
So
I could be wrong about that, but yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, there's at least 8. So we could be on the cusp of the end of their first season as we're discussing it now. And yeah, if you Google it, whatever the reveal is at the first episode, because again, we're almost towards the end, it's kind of openly talked about. So if this sounds interesting to you at all and you haven't checked it out, don't Google anything. Just watch the first episode and see how you feel after that.
Good advice.
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
Jacob, tell me, what have you been watching? I gotta know.
Well, let me hit you with a 7er, as we call them, a 7-episode show
All right.
that I'm watching from 2024 called Bodkin. Now, this is a black comedy mystery type series. I just said I didn't like the mystery thing, but
Yeah, here we
I do
go.
like the black comedy thing. And it basically is about Will Forte, who you might know as MacGruber or The Last Man on Earth, for example. Will Forte is an American podcaster who travels to an Irish coastal town to investigate a cold case involving the disappearance of 3 people during a Samhain celebration decades prior. What's your immediate reaction to that, Jim?
So now, when you say that, that's actually Halloween, though, right? That's what you mean?
Uh, sure. Why
I
not?
know, I'm just being a dick.
Yeah.
This sounds vaguely familiar just because Will Forte's in it.
Mhm.
The other thing that pops in my head, it's like, of course, it's about an Irish town, so Jacob's gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, and it's about a podcast. So I'm like the
oh
DiCaprio meme,
yes,
but twice. I'm
yeah.
pointing both arms at the TV, going like, because like it is very much like I know places they've filmed. And also when Will Forte, because he's a podcast guy, he's like, oh, I should have recorded that. Or he's prioritizing his bullshit podcast over real life concerns. I relate to that too. So both the location and the sensibility, I relate to.
Yeah, no, it's intriguing to me. One thing I do have to ask though is Will Forte in like classic Will Forte, MacGruber, Last Man on Earth? Like, is that his vibe, or is he actually being a real person on this show?
He is actually being a real person, I would say.
Because
It's a muted performance in comparison to others
yeah,
I've seen from
and
him.
I don't mean that as like a bad thing, like because he's great at that. Like I could see a version of the show that's awesome when he's like, oh, what the fuck, I didn't record, like how he does that thing.
Mhm.
But I would like to see him because even though he's amazing at that, I would like to see him more as playing like a real person without being as silly. Like I could see either one working. I was just curious on the the
Yeah.
vibe or tone of the show.
It's played pretty straight, to be honest, and it is like a full up like murder mystery type thing. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. Where and I'm it's not a genre I'm that into, like crime dramas. I think I just grew up with too much of it around. Like the Nordics are big into crime dramas, and my parents were always watching that. And then my dad is from the UK and very into sort of British detective type shows, so a lot of that on the TV growing up as well. And it's just not my favorite way to structure a story. You know me, I'm like, don't give me a mystery, just tell me tell me a good
Mm.
story, guys. And I do think maybe I'm halfway through the season now, so there's 7 episodes, as I said, about halfway through, and I think maybe it would have lost my interest a little bit if not for the setting. But I have to say, and I'm going to quote my partner Una, who is Irish, because I can't say it with as much confidence, but I felt like it was a pretty good depiction of Ireland, which is so rare or feels pretty rare for an international production. And Una said it was one of the closest depictions of modern Irish culture that she's seen. And also, she had no idea why this show is so under the radar. To which I responded, I think it's just because, like, there are so many shows that even when I'm like, it's about a true podcaster who investigates a crime, you still have to be like, no, the comedy one. No, the
Yeah.
one set in Ireland. There's Only Murders in the Building came out a few years ago and stuff. But yeah, it actually does a good job of depicting sort of the vibe of countryside Ireland. And Will Forte plays his character pretty straight, and the comedy in it comes from, cultural misunderstandings and stuff like that. And a lot of that feels authentic. The way people talk, the landscapes, the pubs, the fact that there's a tourist pub and then there's the local pub. All of these things are very relatable and fairly accurate, which again is rare for these sorts of things. So that's what's kept me watching, and yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it.
Does this get supernatural?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't finished it, but it doesn't feel like it, because it feels like it's more like a story about everyone's got a story, and not every, like, people are always lying to themselves, to each other, to society, that sort of thing. It would be weird if it was then also like, and also ghosts,
Mm.
like, where it feels like it's more about that and sort of the secrets hidden in a small village, small town. Now there's like weird mystery vibes. Like one of the main characters keeps seeing a wolf or a dog that looks like a wolf, and I'm like, okay, I get it with the wolf thing. Just like let's get moving here with the plot. But yeah, it's
So,
pretty good.
well, and it is interesting. I'm looking at Jez Sharf. Is that how you say his name?
I don't know. Yeah, he's the creator. I
Yeah.
don't really know him from
Well,
much, but
yeah. Looking at his IMDb, he's credited writer on 4 short films, and then he has this TV show he created. So that's, I mean, cool. That's cool to see. I mean, his last short film was in 2018. Here we are, 2024, with a Netflix show.
I'm always like, who do you know though? Like,
Yeah, right.
how do I know someone like that and get to do a thing? But anyway, we're more into the podcasting side anyway. We wouldn't want to make TV, Jim, right?
Yeah. No, we would just want to make more podcasts about podcasters.
Sure. If we made TV shows, who would be there to complain about the TV shows when we got them wrong? No one.
Very
That's
true.
who. So thank God we're there. But
And-
apparently he is British, right? So that is an interesting fact, given that it's a very Ireland-centric type show. But apparently he was working in Ireland or with Irish producers for a long time. And in the writers' room, they had a quote, transatlantic writers' room with 3 American writers, the creator who's British, and then 3 Irish writers, and they were all working together on Zoom. And I do feel like they've done a pretty good job of capturing the culture. And like a lot of the actors are like Irish actors, but not just Irish actors who, are from Dublin, but like they've got the right accents to be out in the countryside as well,
And how many episodes in are you?
I am 3 or 4 episodes in, and there are 7 total. So about halfway. Yeah.
right.
It's pretty good. Check it out.
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
Now, I've been watching a few other things, but I just want to, because it's almost going to be done soon. I've been watching the new season of Love is Blind on Netflix, which I think I had mentioned it on this show before. It's, a trashy reality show that Netflix runs. I believe they have a few different versions. They have like Love is Blind UK, Love is Blind China, or Tokyo, or something like that. But yes, you get a bunch of singles. You split them up. You got like the men on one side with dorms and then the women on the other side, and they meet in these middle rooms called pods where you can talk to each other, but you can't see each other. So you go on these like speed dating things for about a week, or I don't know how many days it is exactly. It's like 5 days to a week or something. And if you connect with someone over these long conversations, you discuss your life, your family, your values, if you're religious, if you're an activist, stuff like that. If you start to connect with someone and feel a bond, then maybe you're going to propose to them without even seeing them. And then once
I
you
do love that every reality show, regardless of concept, just has to have, and then they get married way too
Yeah.
quickly. Even if it's not mentioned in the title, they just have
Yeah.
to do that.
And then you have the big reveal, like after, if they say yes, then you get a reveal where you're like each on the side of this room where like the doors raise up and you can see each other for the first time, and you get to have these awkward things of like, oh my God, it's you. Oh my God, it's you. And you're feeling like, do they think I'm ugly? Did I live up to it? What did they think? Is this, do I think they're ugly? And then they whisk them away to a tropical resort where they're on like kind of a honeymoon, where now the question is like, are they gonna have sex? They just met. Are they gonna talk to the other couples? Then they meet the other couples. They meet the people that maybe they were close. Like it was, oh, this was my number 2, but instead I proposed to Sarah, but
She
should've-
sounded hotter, but
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah. And then you get to even the point where they go back to their home cities. Like this season is from Minneapolis. So they all go back to Minneapolis and they put them up in these like condos where they live with each other for like 2 weeks before the big actual wedding itself. Because you could go through this whole thing and then at the end they're going to go to the altar, and are you going to say I do or I don't? Because you could still, they're not going to force you to marry them. You could just say, yeah, you know what, after all this, I'm not going to marry you. So we're at the point, at least as of this recording, on Friday will be the wedding episodes where we're going to see who does or doesn't say I do. This has been kind of a boring season in comparison to previous seasons, because like last season was a ton of drama plus a lot of drama on social media. Now, the proper way to watch these shows, you can't just watch the show.
Right.
And I mean, we know this. We watch Severance. You watch Severance, but you also go and read up theories. You do some research. What is this book they referenced? What is this quote they had? What does this mean? Same thing with Love is Blind. What is this person's social media? Who have they been talking to? What do their exes say about them?
Because
Because
meta narrative, guys. You
Yeah,
got to stay on top of things.
last season, one of the guys who proposed to someone, his text leaked that he had a girlfriend at the time, and he was like on the plane on his way there. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna get on TV. This is gonna be fucking great." And people loved him. He got a great edit and everything. But once these texts come out, now one of these guys could potentially be a rapist.
Sure.
Another guy is. I'm trying to think of all the real life stuff that comes up. Another one has an ex that was crying about him, saying that he's a manipulator. You know, you never know what's gonna happen. But otherwise, it's been kind of boring. It's just been this guy who's concerned about his sister. He won't let his fiance even meet his sister or his family because she she allegedly had a situationship with a guy that his friends knew before she went to the experiment. It's a whole thing. That's why you can't watch other shows, Jacob. You gotta watch Love Is Blind. You gotta follow all the social media tea. You got to go ahead and read up on all the Reddit recounts. Even if it's a random person that says they know someone, you have to believe them and assume everything they're saying is true.
Yeah. Well, Jim, can I ask you, given that you're deeper into this world of reality TV, because I threw out that thing about like, and they have to get married as kind of a joke, but I was looking at the timeline here. You know, the timeline of Love Is Blind started in 2020. And Married at First Sight, of course, came out years before that, 2014, I think, based on a Danish show, apparently, a Danish format that they sold very successfully. Did Married at First Sight just kind of raise the stakes to the point that every love-based reality show had to include marriage at some stage as well? Because I feel like it wasn't as much of a thing before then.
I think so, and I've never seen Married at First Sight, so I don't know the conceit and like how it works.
I mean,
in
you
comparison
get it.
to like
You,
Love Is Blind.
you get it a little bit though. They
But
see
I
each
mean,
other, and I think it's the same. They decide whether or not to get married right there, where they just see each other. But yeah, that's it.
But
And then
they
get to
actually
know each
get
other.
married though, right?
They do, yeah.
Immediately. Okay.
Yeah.
So I in a weird way, I give Love Is Blind more credit because they're like, you propose, but now you spend a month with them. Are you going to get married? They don't make them get married until they've spent some time together and kind of mind some of the drama a bit.
Yeah. I think the conceit of Married at First Sight as well is like, oh, we've run the numbers and you're a perfect match. Or whatever, you know?
Okay. Yep. But yeah, it's it's good trash TV. In the defense of the show, I do feel like, and maybe this is accidental. Who knows? Who knows how you can argue it either way. In a lot of cases, just because it is real people, even if people obviously are playing it up, they want to get social media clout. Like obviously, there's always a risk that people just want to get on the show so you can get a lot of Instagram followers, get brand deals, whatever it is. The show, you still end up having to explore real conversations that couples will have.
Yeah.
They discuss, like, I go to church a lot. And then the girl's like, well, my sister's LGBTQ. Like, is that going to be a problem? And he's saying it's not a problem. In a weird way, she doesn't believe him. But then again, it's like we kind of forget that some people might just be religious and they're not the crazy religious people we see all the time. And then there's been a discussion about a prenup, which seems a little bit more manufactured, but it's still, these are legit questions that you would have and discussions you would have. So I found, for as trashy as the show is, that's the main conceit. In some cases, you do at least broach real subjects that people will have. As you're not doing it after seeing someone for a month and deciding to get married, but these are things when you have a partner, you discuss, okay, well, what is your take on abortion? How do you feel about it? Not on the wide scale of like what should be legal, what shouldn't be. How do we feel about this? How do we make these decisions as a couple? And I still think that's interesting to watch play out, and even something to discuss with, if you're watching this show with your partner or whatever. It brings up real discussions, I feel, which again, that could be accidental, but I still think it's there.
Nice. Do you have a favorite couple?
Oof. No, this year's been kind of rough. I'm trying to. There's one couple that they had it felt like a real like usually when they meet each other, it's super awkward.
Yeah.
But Joey and I forget his bride to be, But Joey's this guy with like long hair, looks like Tarzan. It's not that long, but it's like shoulder length, almost Tarzan looking. And he always wears Hawaiian shirts. He's like a goofy, weird guy. But
Yeah.
when they met each other, it felt like a legit cute, like a meet cute. They were giggly, they were touchy and hugging, and they felt like they were nervous, but they felt like they could communicate. Sometimes, like, you watch this show for the cringe factor. I know you're not big into cringe, but sometimes you're like, ugh, when you see
Yeah.
like a nerdy guy, like, holding on to a girl who's clearly uncomfortable, like stuff like that. And you're like, oh, and they're like, he's awkwardly trying to kiss her, like stuff like that happens.
Fun.
But yeah, I guess Joey and his fiance.
Monica. Yeah,
Is
Joey
that
and
what it was?
Monica.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you. I should have known that because it's like friends' names and Full House
Yeah,
names.
yeah. Yeah,
But
well,
yeah,
good.
that's where I'm
and
at.
it wraps up this week. So, if you want to catch season 8 before it's all over, get on that now. It's on Netflix, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's on Netflix. I'll have to watch the other countries' versions because obviously the American version of a lot of these shows is always going to be like trashed up. And I've heard that I think it's Japan that has one. I've heard that it's very different and
Probably,
interesting to
very
watch.
mellow, probably.
Yeah.
Did you know, I only found out just now, there is a Love is Blind Sweden released January of this year, and it is currently releasing its season as well. So you got that.
Ooh. Yeah, I'll have to fire that up too. But there you go. That's what I've been watching. Let's get on to Severance, my guy.
Yeah. What TV shows? Or do we just do it?
Yeah,
I don't
do
know.
it. You know?
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
Now, Jacob, before you say anything,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make myself look like the biggest piece of shit. But all I could do is tell the truth. Because here
Okay.
I am, mere moments ago, I'm like talking up Love is Blind, like how it's like a legit show. And it's
Yeah,
like the trash. It's like the trashiest bullshit. And I recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of here to tell you that I want to sever myself from Severance. I'm that guy, dude.
Wow.
I'm
You're there?
falling out of love with Severance. And maybe
Okay.
it's because I'm a dumbass idiot, but
Maybe.
I feel like the writing's been on the wall a little bit as we've been discussing this show because my main through line each week has been like, I don't care about Kier and like, I'm more interested in the whole thing of like, what makes you, like what is a person and do these people actually exist? And they do still explore that a little bit, but we're getting really bogged down, and which I can't blame the show. They've posed these questions, and I tip my hat to them that they're attempting to answer them, even though I'd still say they're doing it in a very unsatisfying way. But
Okay.
they're at least attempting to explore that. But I've found that I don't care at all. It's similar to how when is it House of the Dragon? What's the
Yeah,
Game of Thrones
that's it.
prequel? Remember when that started? I said, I don't care who sits on the Iron Throne. And
Yeah.
that's when I just stopped watching because like I don't care. I don't and I know it's like sounds stupid and shitty, but like I've already seen the end of Game of Thrones. I don't care what happened 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago who got on that throne. And I'm just I'm watching this. I'm interested in what's going on with like Christopher Walken's character. He's not Irving.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
kind of
Irving is not Christopher Walken. Or Irving
Oh, is he Bert?
Bert is Christopher Walken. That's right.
Okay. I mixed them up. Yeah, okay. I just know because it sounds like Bert and Ernie, but it's Bert and Irving,
Yes.
and I feel like they did that on purpose.
Yeah, definitely did.
I'm kind of interested in that. I mean, I'm still kind of interested in Mark a bit. But I don't know, man. I was reading all the reactions to the most recent episode, and people were like, "Best episode of the series. This show's so good." And I felt sad that I didn't come
Feel
out on
that,
the.
yeah.
I didn't feel that.
Do you think you're just lashing out because you're like emotionally your sort of receptors have been blunted by by life and just reality, and you need real people involved there, like Love is Blind to actually
Maybe.
get engaged? Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe I think it's just that like I feel like some of this stuff we spend time on is a waste of time.
Mhm.
Um, because they're stringing it. Like I've I know every show has to do this, and the magic trick is making you think they're not doing this. Is they have a carrot on a string, and they're
Mhm.
just bringing you along. And I'm not saying this show sucks. I'm just saying for me, I can see the carrot on the string, and it's not. I'm, I get it. I enjoy a slow show. It's not even that, but I don't feel like I'm getting enough from watching this journey because it's like people are also really into. Actually, I guess save some of this for spoilers. So those just that's my basic. I'll save some of the other stuff for spoilers because I don't want to say the wrong thing because we're still in spoiler free. Now,
Sure.
Jacob, tell me you're not on the same wavelength as I am.
No, no, I'm not, which is good
Okay,
because
good. That is good.
we can compare and contrast, and I'm also getting to enjoy the show, which is good. Um, I did little bit. I related a little bit to what you said after the last episode, episode 7, where when I was looking it up online, people are talking about like best episode of any TV show ever, and I was like, eh, it was good. I did
Hmm.
enjoy it, but I was like, okay, maybe tone down the hyperbole, but maybe again that's just us being very very suspicious of any storytelling that is not upfront about what it's doing,
Yeah.
because that's probably part of what you're feeling. I thought that was a good description of like you can see the carrot on the string, and that was the thing that always had me like, react very strongly against Westworld, or even the stuff I was talking about with mysteries earlier, where I'm like, I get it. You're gonna feed me little tidbits until we get to find out what happened, but there will be no interesting character stuff happening in the meanwhile, or we're paying attention to all of this mystery instead of actually getting to the interesting character stuff that I want to see. That I understand why you would be feeling that with Severance, but I haven't been feeling that as much. I still think they're doing some of the what is a person type stuff, and they're mixing that with revealing some things, but then also introducing new mysteries as they have to do. So I'm about as positive as I've been throughout the season. I haven't been massively blown away by these episodes like some other people have, but I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm coming off negative, but it's not like I don't mean I'm gonna quit
You
the
said you wanted to
show.
sever yourself from
Yeah.
the show.
It was just too good of an opportunity not to say
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
I'm the guy writing the clickbait headline, like why I severed from Severance. But then when you read the article, I'm like, yeah, but I'm still gonna watch it all the time. I just wanted you to click on this article.
That's
Um,
pretty good, Jim. We can post
yeah,
articles on showswhatyouknow.com. I'm just saying.
yeah, because I don't. I think a tell for me is that like these past 2 episodes, I watched them last night.
Mm.
I wasn't like before. I used to be like, damn, new Severance, and I'd have to watch it. But I was like, oh shit, we're talking about Severance tomorrow. I gotta watch those.
Yeah, yeah, I
and,
getcha.
and then I watched them.
Yeah.
um,
Um,
but I don't know. That's shitty. I feel bad because I'm not trying. I know a lot of people love this show, and I don't blame you. I love the aesthetic. I love the like technical artistry on the show. I love the performances. I love the music. I love the whole vibe. And you know what? In a weird way, I should have revisited the whole clip. I didn't watch the whole clip, but disgraced screenwriter Max Landis on his Instagram. I hadn't watched the episodes yet, so I didn't watch the full thing, but the start of one of his videos was like, in season 1, I thought Severance was a show about a strange severed world with like the severed characters in the real world, but I'm realizing that like the whole world is almost like a Wes Anderson, like the whole world is weird characters, which I
mhm.
think now that I've seen these episodes, I can kind of see it. I don't know. Again, I'm kind of like paraphrasing what he said. Um, but yeah, it is kind of we're not seeing a lot of regular characters when even when we're not in the severed
Mhm.
world, which makes it seem like oh we're in like a weird like I get it we're supposed to be in like a alternate type of near future either way because the whole severance concept, but it's starting to blend a little bit, which is maybe ruining some of my intrigue.
Well, now that you say it, Mark's sister, Devon, is probably the only normal person on the
Yes.
show, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, which is why she's a great character as
Yep.
well. But also, like, maybe you need a bit more contrast than that because I am literally looking at the main cast and I'm like, yeah, like everyone's either severed, or they're working at Lumen and are like therefore brainwashed and acting insane, or they're Devon's husband, who is also crazy, like Rickon, who's an eccentric self-help kind of guy who is also crazy. That's the real mystery. We got a
Mhm.
whole episode of flashbacks, Jim, that we'll get into after the spoiler alert, but how the fuck did these two people end up together, Rickon and Devon? How did that
Yeah, I
happen?
know you're right. Yeah.
What is that about? But anyway, we'll save our theories on that for after the spoiler warning, I guess. Will we get into it, or what you think?
Yeah. So I think again, I mean, I'm coming off negative, but I still like the show. I still like to discuss the show. I like to hear people's theories. I'm happy that you're still way more on board and down with it. So that's good. Although also I do need to pull up the goddamn bumper.
Yeah. Well, just to remind you, listening at home, we will be spoiling episodes 6 and 7, but nothing beyond that, because nothing beyond that is out at the time of this recording. So it's you'll be all right. If you're watching along, you'd be fine, and if you don't care about Severance, that's also okay.
And we're on
Yeah.
the cusp of I'm basically the finale, right? Is it only 8 episodes?
No, it is 10 episodes, Jim.
Oh,
So
all
we have
right.
3 episodes left.
In a weird way, then because I came out of episode 7 thinking we're going into the finale, and I
Yeah.
think that also
Oh,
soured.
yeah.
So you know what? You saying that has actually bumped my excitement up way more because I thought we were heading into the end of the season.
I think I would have
So,
felt the same if I thought
all
that
right.
as well. If that was
Forget
you know
everything I
me,
said.
you know me. If the penultimate episode of any season is a flashback episode, I'm gonna give out about it.
But you get where I'm coming. You could see
Yeah.
a world where that's a lot of shows do that. All right, so
Yeah.
forget everything I said. I love Severance.
All right, cool.
But okay, hold on. Let me bring up our thing.
Ayo, this is AI generated bullshit. AI generated bullshit by AI Jacob. Here we go. Spoiler alert, we're gonna spill the beans. No turning back, no living in your dreams. We'll reveal secrets and we'll blow your mind. Darth Vader was dead the whole time. And in The Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis was that kid's dad. Dumbledore killed Snape, made all the kids sad. Man, you can't control these spoiler bars. And the Planet of the Apes was actually Mars. Damn, that thing is so long. But
Yeah, it's not
no
quite
excuse now. You know there's going to be spoilers now. There's no way you missed
Very
that
true.
spoiler alert. That's the whole point.
So one thing though, and again, I could be wrong because part of discussing Severance spoilers is discussing theories. And I mean, not to jump immediately to episode 7, which is what Chikai Bardo.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
think
gonna
I'm saying that right.
like forcibly say we have to talk about episode 6 immediately, or we're just gonna
Yeah.
get to 7. But go ahead. Fuck
No,
it.
you're right. Let's go to do 6 first because we're not going to be able to bring it back.
I did watch 6 when it came out, right? So
Okay.
almost 2 weeks ago. So I did have to like go and look up what happened because 7 does stand out. People saying they love this episode, and I understand why. It's got some reveals and stuff, but point being, you're always going to know that's the episode where you get into the flashbacks and get into Mark and Gemma's relationship, and like it's a very distinct episode versus episode 6, which is like, oh yeah, that's I guess Mark and Helly have sex.
I think the biggest thing to come out of episode 6, and it's not quite confirmed, but the gist I'm getting is that Bert was never severed. Because they hit on it twice of how his husband Fields mentions when you started working 20 years ago, and then he's like, haha, oh, but wouldn't that mean severed's only been a thing for 12 years? And he's like, haha, that's right. And then later on as he's leaving, he's like, Fields saying stupid stuff like 20 years ago. Now, I guess obviously you could take that the other way, is that severed's actually been an older thing. than we know. I guess I could see it going that way as well. But I think Bert acts weird enough in the way he kind of showed up, anyways, to Irving. And I forget the detail, but doesn't he know why he was retired? Like the little things that usually don't happen when you're severed.
Hmm.
It feels like he just was never severed. But I mean, that could be wrong. That's at least my takeaway from the crumbs we're getting. That's my theory.
Yeah, no, it's a solid theory. It's good. I think, but also you have to remember, like, I do enjoy their weird relationship as well because we know
I do.
Irving is playing a bigger game as well and has more information than he lets on. He has all the documents. He has the list of people working there. He has mysterious phone calls with someone we don't know who, and he knows about the testing floor. So we don't really know still what's going on with real life Irving, but him and Bert being attracted to each other, but then also potentially being adversaries in some way is an interesting dynamic. I think what you said makes sense. It could also be that Bert has worked for Lumen for that long, but maybe he helped develop the chip that makes people severed, but he was actually severed then after that as well. Maybe
Mm.
kind of as penance for what he had done or something like that. I think we chatted about this last time as well. That I have a little pet theory that something akin to Severance has been central to the sort of Lumen doctrine for a long time, but that you do it just through sort of meditation and indoctrination. And, we know from Cobell and Miss Huang that they raise people from children to indoctrinate them into this weird corporate cult. So some sort of like balancing your tempers and doing all this shit, but doing it all mentally has potentially been a thing for longer, right? And then maybe the chip came around 12 years ago. But there is definitely more going on with Bert than we know, at least. They hit it pretty hard. They're like, oh, I can't believe he said that.
Yeah, right.
you know?
Um, actually, hold on. I'm just pulling up some details myself. But
I've got a few bullet points. We have Dylan tells Mark and Helly that, because obviously Irving has kind of just died more or less recently from their perspective. So
sure.
Mark and Helly find out about the sort of exports hall, the elevator that goes down. We have Milchek, who after his performance review goes and does a big OCD paperclip thing. That's fun. But more dramatically, Mark, and this surprised me positively from Mark. Mark just tells Helly that him and Helena, her Audi version, had sex during the outdoor retreat thing, which I thought the way that Milchek threatened him last episode, it felt like a thing that was going to hang in the air for longer. But Mark
Yeah.
actually tells her, which is obviously the moral thing to do. And Helly feels like that experience was stolen from her, and therefore she wants to have sex with Mark, and they do. They bone again. Fair
Yeah, they
play.
do. They even make a
Yeah.
makeshift tent for it to kind of reenact the original moment.
Yeah. And speaking of cheating, question mark, we have Dylan in the Audi visitation suite again, and he meets his Audi's wife, and they
Yes,
kiss. So that happens. That's some of this stuff does touch on the whole like what is a person, the
I
severance
agree.
thing you were talking about, right?
It's the stuff I like the most about the show. I do like
Mm.
exploring that, and just I loved their scene together because it's got to be so wide. Like the emotions you'd have to feel of like in a weird way, you're seeing the earliest version of your long time partner or your husband, because it's a common thing for anyone to be like, oh, when we first met, like it was so new and like yeah, every like what he says, I just like looking at your face, like something simple like
Mm.
that, where even the real version of him probably still thinks that, but you don't.
Yeah.
Everyone falls into routine. You don't think to say stuff like that, and it's such a wild thing to explore. Of like, well, no, but this is my husband. But yeah, it's a whole different consciousness, but exploring similar feelings. So I do love all that stuff. It feels. The only thing is, it feels a little like, I don't want to say cumbersome because I'm more interested in it, but it's like the
Feels separate.
disconnect.
Yeah.
Yes, the disconnect of then like getting into this like Kier lore and like the religion and the the way people are like maybe it's not till the next episode, but seeing like the inner floor of the Severance floor of the people watching the Severance people and how they are. It's I don't know. It feels so like disconnected.
Yeah, yeah. I get you. And beyond what we've already mentioned, the only main thing in this episode really is that, we have the doctor who's helping Mark reintegrate, and clearly she must have been like, damn, we're like, that was episodes ago we started reintegration and nothing's really happened. We better speed things up a bit. Because Mark's had a few, weird flashes or whatever, but clearly that
Yeah.
doctor is like, we're halfway through the season. We got to speed this shit up. And they're going to flood the Severance chip.
Oh,
And
actually,
yeah.
sorry to back up a little bit because this. Oh no, actually, I cut you off. You were getting to this, but yeah, she wants to flood the chip, and he says no at first. But
Hmm.
then Helena sees him in public. Now, what do you think? Is this how direct or premeditated are her actions here? Even like saying Gemma's name wrong. Like what is your take on this interaction that he has with Helena in his regular day-to-day life, non-severed life?
I think it's 100% premeditated on her side. I am a
Sure.
little unsure of the motivation. Like, I
Yes.
don't know if it is like the obvious surface level take for me is that she's basically like clearly she's lived a weird life because she's in the core of this weird cult thing that they've got going on, and she's been raised from a child to be the heir apparent as a CEO. So she's clearly never had like a normal life. And episodes ago, when she sees her innie version kissing Mark, she is really affected by it. And
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with how within this corporate cult culture you're supposed to oppress all of your feelings and things like that, so that she's never gotten to experience any true connection like that. And that's why she part of why she goes in as herself and seduces Mark, basically, and starts to feel things for him as well. And I think, when she's secretly in there and says things like, oh, I didn't like the outside version of myself, that's also probably kind of true to some extent, but she's never allowed herself to step outside of the role that's been created for her by society. So when it's told to her from up high that no, we're gonna give her any Helena back or Helly back, and she's like, oh, like the bitch who tried to kill me, basically, you're gonna bring her back and give her control of my body. Not a fan of that. And she also doesn't get to see Mark. So the question is like, is she that obsessed with Mark that she just wants to see him, or is there something else going on? What do you think?
Mm. No, I think it's a great question. Because I haven't even thought about it that way. That she also kind of has, in her own way, feelings for Mark, and
Mm.
like misses that. I guess almost being kind of like a real person. Because to me, I'm just like evil corporation lady. What's she trying to do? I
Yeah,
guess it's similar to what's her face who we haven't seen in a bit. The boss from season one.
Cobell.
Yeah, Cobell. Yeah, like in a similar fashion. With just, I mean, everyone just the show should be called "Everyone Loves Mark."
Yeah, very much so. I actually have a thing I pulled up because I was like, well, this is maybe more related to the next episode, but like one little detail, and this is kind of digging into like the deets and everything. You might recall that Mark has a little trophy on his desk with his face on it, like a little holograph thing.
Yeah.
They gave him that, and this is from like tidbits in the first season, and also quotes from the writer. But basically, they gave him that because when Mark entered this company, he came in and he was really good at this refining thing. And the first thing he worked on was called Allentown, which is one of the rooms we see downstairs in episode 7. And basically, he was so good at it that they were able to reverse engineer a better procedure from what he did. So, based on his way of refining the data, they tweaked some stuff, and now all the files, they're able to work through them faster. So, Mark, even though it's not emphasized a lot in the first season, it's hit pretty hard this season when they're like, it's going to be the most important event in human history when we finish Cold Harbor. But he was kind of framed a little bit as Cobell's golden boy who came in and had a great success at the start of his career in Lumen, in Severance. And I kind of forget why I got into that. I think because we're talking about everybody loving Mark. Why
Yeah.
is he so important? What's going on? Of course, we know a bit more about that from the next episode, in that him and Gemma, clearly they're testing Severance through them to a large extent. But regardless, that's the gist of episode 6. He meets Helena. They have a weird conversation. And he basically is kind of charmed by her, but decides, and again, it was a while since I watched it, but charmed by her, but also remembers that she is the person maybe keeping his wife hostage, and is like, wait a minute, fuck this shit, and goes and gets the procedure done. But then when his sister shows up, he has a seizure, collapses, and that's the end of episode 6.
Yeah. And then the scientist name is what, Ragavi?
Yes.
Now, and this is getting back to like the carrot thing. She's an insane person that just leaves in this episode. Like,
That's at the start of 7, yes, but she is the most volatile, insane character. Like
yeah,
but she has been from the start. To be fair, like first
true.
scene she's in, she murders someone, and Mark's
Yeah,
there, and Mark's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then still, you're working with this person who her work has directly led to the death of supposedly your best friend, who you don't remember, and he's just that desperate that he's going to work with this lady. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I get it at first. I get her reaction, like, "Hey, if you call Cobell, I gotta go." But then she doesn't call her, and then but she's like, "Well, you strike three, you're out. Doesn't matter. You talked about it, so now I gotta go. He might die. Who knows? I did some stuff. I gotta get the hell out of here just because." But yeah,
I
um,
actually, I saw a post on Reddit that it's just been locked. It's
uh,
been locked since I saw it, but basically saying that Ragabi was right to leave when they did, and I won't even get into the text of it, but basically being like, I agree that she should have left, but it looks like, for a subreddit that's usually pretty civil, I think things got a little intense maybe in here, and they've
that's
locked the
funny.
discussion. But I do think that it's kind of weird that Devin's first reaction is we should call Cobell. Like that felt a
Yeah,
little manufactured to me. Like maybe I'm missing something, but like yeah, it felt like she only said that for the script, for it to make sense that the doctor would leave. But then that
yeah.
also didn't even make that much sense either. So I was just kind of like, okay, I guess this is where we're at now. And this is basically just a way for Cobell to show back up in the last few episodes of the season, I guess. That's
Uh,
all I took away from it. It
I
didn't feel
do.
very genuine.
I do think the idea of the birthing cabin or whatever is a good idea if you're trying to talk to his innie, like
Oh,
guessing
to
if that's how it
bring. Oh,
works.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
To bring him to the birthing cabin or whatever.
Yes, I
Mm.
do think that is a good plan, and I
Yeah.
think that's an interesting way to revisit that. And actually, getting into this episode, I think part of my disconnect as I was watching this, I realized it's because I'm rooting more for Innie Mark than I am Outie Mark.
I think we all
So
are a little bit. Yeah.
but the thing is, everyone else, at least the people that love the episode, anecdotally from what I read, it's because they're so enthralled with the Gemma Mark relationship that they're like, oh my God, you could see the chemistry. They're so destined to be together and all this stuff. Um, and that's what sold so many people, at least when I was reading reviews and reactions, where
Mm.
I'm not too concerned about Gemma and Mark getting back together because, in my opinion, again, I can't confirm or deny this. I feel like it's going to be revealed that like Gemma went with them by her own choice. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
she doesn't want to be there anymore, so there's something to be said for that. But like, they already set this like disconnected Mark up because he thinks his wife's barren or whatever. Like, I didn't really like this whole plot line and reveal. I was like, oh geez, but I don't know. What is your take on these flashbacks and how this plays out?
Well, I think I liked seeing it, maybe because it's been a carrot that's been dangled for so long, and we actually get to munch in on at least some of it this time. But as far as sort of the actual flashbacks and their relationship and everything, the episode is directed by Jessica Lee Gagné. Sorry about the
Yeah, that's
pronunciation
their
there.
DP, right, or
Yeah,
cinematographer.
yeah, they're cinematographer, and you can tell it's a very beautiful episode. But all of the flashbacks are shot on film, and they have some bits in there that are like, I mean, not Super 8, but it's like very clearly like a lot of film grain, kind of
Hmm.
home shot footage almost, and it's all giving dead wife energy. It's all like the
Yeah, yeah.
the the trope of the wife that is dead, and you have a flashback about your wonderful time with your wife. And the reason that trope is usually boring, obviously, is that the wife is dead and only exists to give Tom Cruise motivation to run real fast or whatever. But in this case, the wife is alive, so there's more going on there. But it's just like it doesn't hit me as hard, almost because I've seen it so many times where it's like a flashback to our good old days where it's shot on film and it's all flickery and we're having a nice time. Now it does work, but it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. Anyway, we get the whole story of their relationship, from them meeting until Mark learns that she died, quote unquote, in a car crash, and I guess the implication is that he's kind of knocked out and he is reliving all of this. And then at the end, when he's waking up, he sort of blurrily sees his sister and thinks it's Gemma, but it's not. So he's kind of this is kind of his perspective throughout the episode. But I do think your take on, like, presumably she went with them willingly is that's kind of what I was thinking as well. Because, like, what else would be an interesting reveal? That they just
Hmm.
abducted her? That's not that interesting because
Yeah.
they're very desperate to have a child. They've gone to a clinic. Like, everything in this town, in this world, is controlled by Lumen. Even when they're giving blood in that initial scene, that is a Lumen blood drive as well. So, Lumen's got all their data, all their information. They were probably potentially targeted early on to be these weird test subjects in whatever they're doing. So, yeah, and she's still sticking with the Lumen doctors and treatments. And apparently, the doctor in the clinic is or there you see a doctor in the clinic or whatever, and that's the same guy that's on the testing floor with her later on as well. So obviously, like, she has gone willingly to some extent, but yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see the details of that, I guess.
And I mean, I haven't kept an eye on the Reddits, and I didn't. I meant to look into this, but I didn't. I assume this is explored because you hear the guy or like the dentist slash person that pops up in the rooms. He's always whistling the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is like an old long ass song that's like a story about a shipping boat that sinks to the middle of Lake Superior and the bodies cannot be recovered and they're still at the bottom of the cold harbor. Hoo-hoo. So I mean, I
Oh,
don't know if you've run into that at all as you're going through your theories or anything like that.
I don't know. No, I knew the song, or like was looking into like what is this song or whatever, but I didn't get much out of it. Did they say the words Cold Harbor in the
I
song or?
someone on because I googled it real quick. Someone on Reddit says that, so I don't know if
Yeah,
they say that in the song.
yeah,
It's one of those songs that's like da, 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 da. It's just a droning. Like, I'm familiar of it because there was a radio show used to do a bit about how long and droning the song was.
okay.
Um, but actually, do they say Cold Harbor?
I don't think so.
That
I
would
think
be.
I think that
Oh
would
my
have been
god.
on the.
Yeah. No.
No,
No.
I got the
They
lyrics
don't.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
That would be quite
Sorry, what
a.
was so you stumbled across the what were you going to say about the doctor, or was that was the gist of
Well,
it?
I just said, like, clearly they're like pointing to that. Like, they're not being subtle. Like,
Yeah.
he's whistling it like each time you see, and I think they may have even used the song either in the end credits, or even in a different moment. So they're getting at something. I just haven't gotten a chance to. Okay, yeah, it's Gordon Lightfoot. I haven't gotten a chance to dig into what the redditors out there are saying about it.
But yeah, no, this is. I mean, we're writers to some extent. We all know writers love to do this shit. You reference a book. What is Rory reading? How is that relevant to the plot, or is it relevant to the plot? And in this episode, there's another thing introduced, another cultural item, a book, The Death of Ivan Ilyich. Which is a book that Gemma is reading at the end of the episode and also at the start when they meet at the blood bank. She has some sort of paper that she's grading about this Russian literature thing as well. And I have not read this, but this is what Reddit is good for because there's always someone there who read it. So
Sure.
from user Plusum, who posted that they read the death of Ivan Ilyich, so you wouldn't have to. Gave us a little TLDR on the themes. What is the point of this book? Which we can speculate from. So I'm going to quote here from their TLDR, which is: pain isn't something to be erased. It's part of what makes our life meaningful. A life without suffering, only focused on superficial pleasantries, is meaningless and empty. True meaning of life comes from the relationship we form with others, and we cannot achieve that without first embracing pain as a natural consequence. Now, that obviously might be a bit influenced by them relating that to Severance as well, because they've read it and they're kind of combining the two. But it is an interesting, if that is a main theme of the book, then it is certainly related, because in this episode we watch Gemma go through various painful experiences in various rooms, kind of similar to the birthing cabin in season 1. And that's like the remaining big part of the episode we haven't talked about, which is kind of, I guess, parts of the reveals or whatever, what's happening on the testing floor. So what is your take on all of this stuff, Jim?
Well, I mean, it's something we already kind of. I knew the show was going to get into this. We kind of mentioned it offhand at the beginning of our discussion of this season of like how many layers can you get into as far as Severed, like, and I mean, I would hope they wouldn't do this, but then it's like, is the real world or yet another Sever? You know, like
Sure.
you could see how a show could do stuff like that. So it's interesting to see it played out. I mean, everything keeps coming back to. I don't have much of a theory either way on what that means, as far as if it's just more about packaging and selling the idea of not having to ever experience pain or trauma in your life because you could just sever it away, or if they're exploring these different parts of the mind. Once again, like people keep coming back to the idea of resurrecting
Here.
Kier for some reason. So, I mean, it's interesting to see. It's very weirdly reminiscent of actually, who is because the actress that plays Gemma, I believe she was on that Joss Whedon show Dollhouse.
She was, yeah, good point. Yeah,
And in
Severance really is just like a modern day Dollhouse if you think
because
about it.
Dollhouse, what I mean, I haven't seen it in a while. It wasn't that was similar where you would be like your mind would be wiped, right? It was kind of
Yeah.
almost like it'd be like prostitutes or I mean, to an extent, soldiers or missions and stuff like that, where you'd go under, you didn't really have much of an identity, and then you'd come out, do a mission, and then have it wiped and go back to it. So I do think that's kind of also an interesting connection, because that's the first thing I thought of, because they kept showing Gemma
Yeah.
in these different I guess costumes for whatever experience she was about to go into, or whatever kind of weird role play or thing that was going to happen.
Mhm.
And I forget if we got into it. I don't think we did, but like, I don't know that like, are they going to explore? I guess they kind of hint at it a little bit. Is there weird stuff where rich people can get people to torture? But all you have to do is sever them, so they don't even like, it's like a weird victimist crime, almost like a hostile type thing. But maybe you're not necessarily killing people, but you get to fulfill your weird, bizarre fantasies. Like, there's a lot of darkness to be explored here that's hinted at.
Definitely. Yeah, no, and it was always a thing in the first season that I think I mentioned when we got into this season of a bunch of episodes ago, how that really stuck with me, the birthing cabin concept. Just the
Yes. Yeah.
idea. It's just such a good, because at that stage in the first season, you've sat with the original concept of Severance for like half a season. You've just gotten to know it. And then they sort of spring on you that they've done for political favor, they've let someone sort of sever their wife so that they can keep having children without having to experience it. But that also means locking someone else into an eternal, you only exist to give children, and that is all you will ever know. And the only way for it to stop is if we decide not to have any kids or if you die. And there's nothing else for you to live in this life. So that idea is such a horrific concept that gets reiterated here, because Gemma's on the testing floor. She seems to be herself because she knows Mark. And we
Mhm.
talked before, is she a clone? What's going on? Definitely seems to know who Mark is
Yeah.
and everything. So it kind of washes away the theory that she's actually dead and that this is a clone, though, who knows. But probably it's the same person. But she goes into all these rooms to experience bad things in general. We see a bunch of different rooms, but it's all bad stuff. The dentist, for example. And in every room, there exists a version of her that only exists in that room, right? That's what we're
Mhm.
taking from this. So, you know, we don't know the purpose of this exactly, and I think we pass by Cold Harbor. They say she's been to every room except Cold Harbor, and when she goes in there, everything's gonna change. The From what I've read online, people are talking about, Cold Harbor means she's gonna die or Mark's gonna die, and it's all about grief to some extent because all of these rooms are about compartmentalizing and shutting away painful experiences, suppressing trauma and putting it away. And obviously, the show has been dealing a lot with themes of grief, and Mark has been dealing with grief, and he's tried to deal with it by becoming severed and shutting it away. And his friend Petey even tells him in the first season, you still feel it down there. You just don't know what it is. And they keep
Yeah.
asking Gemma when she goes between the rooms of like, do you feel anything? Did any of the rooms make you feel a particular something or other or what have you? And this doctor character is clearly obsessed with her as well. So that's fun. Another fun aspect to put in there. But yeah, we don't really know the point of it, but we do know that Lumen's CEO wants everyone in the world to have this chip. So presumably that's a way they could maybe sell it, get it into people's heads of like, this is a way that you can skip any unpleasant experience that you don't want to have. But then, of course, that also comes with a lot of Lumen indoctrination. So yeah, that's about where we're at.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, lots to unpack. Definitely, and a lot. This happens a lot when we discuss things. Once we discuss things, even if like in the moment I'm not jazzed on it, I come out on the other side of a discussion more excited to
Hmm.
see where it's going. So, my innie is back and ready to enjoy some more Severance.
Nice. Well, yeah, and you'll forget all about it after the
Yeah.
season ends.
Yeah,
Uh,
very true.
that's how it is with every show. We just lock in and then we're severed. One last note just on the rooms. Someone had pointed out. I think it was on TikTok for once, not on Reddit, but it moved to Reddit. But just a few screenshots of the outfits that they put Gemma in, and then they've put those next to the outfits of the female CEOs of Lumen, and they do
Mm.
look pretty similar. Like
Oh,
the
all
red
right.
outfit she's wearing looks pretty similar. They also have her hair done differently, which kind of at least matches different important characters from Kier's background or the company's background. So now that could just be that the overall aesthetic of Lumen is, old school, everything is old technology and old clothes and stuff. But just the fact that there's such different outfits that they put her in for these different scenarios, it makes you wonder, are these just random things people don't enjoy, or is it specific experiences that previous CEOs have had or whatever? That flight with the turbulence. Did someone
Oh yeah.
experience that and now they're trying to build a way for someone to block that out and, also mind control them? Because there's still that theory of the board equals all the old CEOs uploaded to the cloud. So we'll see what pans out. I don't have any crazy theories to throw at you this time, Jim, but
Mm.
there's still 3 episodes left, so there's still plenty of time for more revelations.
I'm really glad that we're not going into the finale. So I
Me
do want to
too.
stress that. What are you thinking at home? Let us know at showswhatyouknowshow@gmail.com. Of course, like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and find us. I mean, I hope you found us at any podcast. If you're watching on our YouTube, but there's a podcast as well. You can find it
Yeah.
all at showswhatyouknow.com.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Let us know what you're watching at showswhatyouknow.com.
Oh,
And
you know
that's
what? Real quick before you
yeah.
finish it up, the Chikai Bardo.
Hmm.
I mean, gave me a little Cobra Kai vibes because they're looking at that like flashcard or whatever it was, where it's like, well, no,
Yeah.
he's fighting himself, and I'm like, Daniel needs to see this. Like, sometimes you're just fighting yourself, man.
I did realize as well, like we last episode, we obviously talked a lot about Cobra Kai. Didn't even reference the fact that Cobra Kai. Well, we talked about Cobra Kai and Buffy, and both are in our intro, like our intro for
Yeah,
this
very true.
show. And we didn't even bring up the fact that you're there on the fucking mat, bowing with our senseis. If you haven't seen it, youtube.com/shows what you know to see our cool intro that we made. But it's time to wrap it up. Let's sever and get the fuck out of here, Jim.
Oh, I like that for the new outro. Let's sever and get the fuck out of here.
And
Thanks, everybody.
then we put the ding, the elevator
Yeah.
ding.
Oh, yeah.
All right, bye everyone. Ding.